Good evening. I'm Gina Roberts, Voter Education Director for the Citizens Clean Elections Commission. As the state's only nonpartisan voter education agency, Clean Elections is proud to sponsor these debates. Our mission is to ensure that you have the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates, ask questions about the issues that impact your life, and head to the polls with confidence. To make sure your voice is heard, please keep these upcoming deadlines in mind. June 22nd is the voter registration deadline, June 24th, early voting begins, and July 21st is primary election day. A quick reminder, all registered voters, including independents, are eligible to vote in the upcoming primary election. If you're watching this debate live, we want to hear from you. You can submit a question for the candidates at any time using one of the following methods. You can email debates@kc-a.com. You can text 480-769-9511 or phone 480-937-1253. Thank you for joining us and for staying engaged in our democracy. For more resources to help you prepare for the upcoming July 21st primary election, please visit our website at azcleanelections.gov. Enjoy the debate.
Good evening, and welcome to the Arizona Clean Elections debate for Legislative District 23, the Democratic primary for the State House. I'm Joe Ferguson, a reporter with the Tucson Agenda, and I'll be your moderator tonight. I've been writing about Arizona politics for almost 17 years, with a focus on elections, the legislature, and municipal government. Tonight, you're going to hear from 4 Democratic candidates running for their party's nomination for 2 State House seats representing Legislative District 23. LD23 is a massive district that runs from Yuma all the way to Goodyear and down to the southwest edge of Tucson. It's a border district that stretches along mostly the Arizona's border with Mexico. This is a Democratic-leaning district that has been competitive for Republicans in the recent years. Currently, its 2 House seats are represented by 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. So who Democrats nominate in the primary really matters. Here's how tonight's debate will go. We'll start off with a 90-second opening statement, and then we'll spend a few minutes getting to know the candidate as a person. Then we'll dig into how he or she will address the core issues facing the district. Then we will ask how they would have voted on a real bill from this session. Time permitting, we'll also do a rapid-fire round questions and finish with a quick closing statement from each of the candidates. Okay, we're going to get to the debate. We will start with a 90-second opening statement. I want to thank all of the candidates for showing up tonight. So candidates, please take the time to tell the voters who you are and why you're running. Amelia, we're going to start with you first.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Amelia Cortez, and I'm running for House of Representatives because I believe in government should work for working families, not just those with the loudest voice or the most influence. I was raised with values of hard work due to growing up as a farmer's daughter and of service. Those values inspire me to have had earned my public administration degree and my MBA, which serves on community boards and support small businesses and work on the economic development, creating so many opportunities for families and tribal communities across my region. I understand the challenges that families face because I've worked alongside them. I know what it means to balance a budget. I've worked long hours and fought for opportunities that strengthen our community. Throughout my career, I have brought people together to solve problems, building partnerships, and deliver results. My district deserves affordable housing, excellent public school, and good paying jobs, reliable water source, as well as good health care. And an economic where a small business can thrive. As your representative, I will listen first, work with anyone willing to find solutions, and always put the people of Legislative District 23 before politics. This campaign has never been about me. It will always be about the people of our district and the future we can build together. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Juan, we're going to move to you next. Please go ahead. Juan, you're muted. Why don't you go ahead and try again?
My name is Juan Manuel Guerrero, and I'm running for LD23. I'm originally from Yuma, born and raised in Somerton. I'm first-generation Mexican-American, so everything that I've done so far has been a first for my family. One of the reasons I'm running is because we're tired of being underrepresented. There's a lot of issues going in urban areas. from housing, from affordability, from teachers' pay, and law enforcement. We have a tremendous amount of attrition rate with law enforcement go to higher paying jobs because rural areas can't afford the existing salaries in rural and metro areas. So there's a lot of issues that we have, affordability as well. Most of the people that I talk to, they don't care how much Elon Musk makes or how much these rich individuals makes. What they care is how they're going to make the mortgage payment every month, how they're going to bring food to their family every month. And right now, we're living in troubled times. And that's why I'm running, because LD23 hasn't had representation in quite a while. And you can't come and visit the district only when you're running for re-election. So it's about time that LD23 finds a situation or place on the table and bring those resources that need to be brought to LD23. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Naomi next. Naomi, the floor is yours.
Good dinig. Ani abjigi baag neodam ox. Goma amateur chuchu se fue the objection donat the nation. Buenos tardes. Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Naomi Miguel. Good evening. My name is Naomi Miguel. My author name is Eagle Singing Woman. I come from the village of Chuchu in Sefueda district on the Donautim Nation. One of the reasons why I am running for Arizona State Legislature for District 23 is a personal experience that happened to me. I attempted to get my real ID at the Department of Motor Vehicle here within the state. And despite having all the correct documentation for this ID, I was denied getting this ID because our state agencies and our state agency workers did not recognize a rural tribal address. When I left this department defeated, I found out from other tribal members that it's taken members up to 9 different visits to the Department of Motor Vehicle to get their real ID. And the more that I tell this story to folks, the more that I hear that this is an issue, not only with rural and tribal communities, but also with those living in military bases. Our state services shouldn't be based on where you live, and you should get the exact same services no matter where you are. All Arizonans deserve a state government agency and a state government that's working for them. That's one of the many reasons why I'm running. I want to run to represent all of you, but also hear all of your concerns, and so that you will have proper representation in the state legislature. Thanks so much for being here tonight, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the debate.
Okay, thank you so much for all you being here. We're going to get into our first round of questions, but first, a quick reminder. Viewers can submit questions at any time during the debate. You can email us at debate@kc-a.com, text us at 480-769-9511, or give us a call at 480-937-1253. The next section is going to be about you as a person, not your policy
Joe,
position.
can I do an intro, Joe?
You know what? I think that's probably a good idea. My apologies, Rep. I've skipped somebody.
It's
So
okay.
we're gonna move back a little bit and go let Rep Mariana have her 90 seconds. My apologies.
Thank you. Good evening, buenas noches. I want to start by thanking the Clean Elections Commission for hosting this debate, our moderator, Joe, and all of the voters watching this debate. My name is Mariana Sandoval, and I'm your state representative. I'm a mom, the wife of a union worker, an immigrant, a small business owner, and I'm running for re-election because families in our district deserve leaders who fight for policies and funding that truly help them, not special interests. Like many of you, my family is feeling the pressure of rising costs of groceries, gas, and utilities, making it harder to afford life in Arizona. We need legislators who will stand up for working families, protect our public schools, our healthcare access, our environment, and fight for everyday Arizonans. In the last legislative session, I introduced bills to support working families, to strengthen our labor protections, and improve our education and healthcare, and also to help our tribal communities and protect our environment. I also introduced bills to increase the minimum wage so that workers can earn a living wage, and bills to tax millionaires so that our state has the resources it needs. Unfortunately, Republicans have controlled the Arizona legislature since the Vietnam War and blocked most of the bills Democrats introduced. As your state representative, I have voted against bills that threaten labor rights and voting rights, that attack our public schools or fail to help residents in our district. And I'm running for reelection because I'm not ready to stop fighting for working people in Arizona. I'm not a career politician. I'm a servant leader who will keep fighting for you and in Arizona we can all afford. I'm your state representative, Mariana Sandoval, and I hope to earn your vote on or before July 21st. Thank you for your support.
Okay, we're going to do a fresh restart. When the next segment is going to be about you as a person and not your policy positions. You'll be given 60 to 90 seconds to answer each question. The first question is going to go to Juan. Outside of perhaps raising your family, tell us something that you've built, started, or led that you're particularly proud of, and what did it teach you? Juan, you're going to start first.
60 minutes, huh? Okay. 60 seconds. All right. Well, I'm a high school dropout. I left school when I was 13 because my dad got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I had to support my family. One of the biggest things was those 4 years that eventually he got well, I decided to get my GED. From there on out, I got my associate's degree from Arizona Western College and went on to U of A, graduated from U of A and joined the military. Spent 10 years in the United States Navy. And from there, worked all over, eventually became elected as a judge. But one of the things that really changed my life was when I got my GED. Because at that point, my whole life had changed. Now there was a vision. Instead of seeing that road ahead, there was a panoramic view. And for me, that changed everything. For me, public service, that's when it started. And during that time, I started coalitions dealing with fentanyl, started coalitions dealing with domestic violence. I'm currently on the board of directors with Regional Center for Board of Health. I'm a Rotarian. I'm a soccer coach. So my service has never, ever stopped. Thanks to God for that moment at the GED.
Thank you so much, sir. Naomi, we're going to ask you the same question.
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure. Outside of perhaps raising your family, what's something you've built, started, or led that you're particularly proud of, and what did it teach you?
Sure. So my previous professional experience, I was able to work in the United States House of Representatives. I was able to work with former Congressman Raul Grijalva, and then also work on the House Committee on Natural Resources for the Subcommittee for Indigenous Peoples of the United States. And in that role, I served as staff director, and I was able to hire a staff. It was the only staff in the entire United States Congress that had Indigenous women working for them. And I worked with 574 federally recognized tribes throughout the United States, national organizations, tribal leaders, members of Congress, and senators to pass legislation that was truly helpful for tribes. One of the biggest pieces of legislation that I was able to work on was during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we were able to pass $20 billion for federally recognized tribes to get direct funding from the federal government to help aid their tribal communities during the pandemic. A lot of those dollars, the tribal leaders were able to direct towards preventative efforts like creating temporary housing so tribal members could get quarantined and stop the spread of the virus within their communities. And that's the type of work that I'm willing to do for all of the voters in this district. I'm very used to working with other people and working with other communities, but also listening to everyone to hear what they need. But I'm also very proud of that piece of legislation and a lot of the work that I was able to do with those coalitions and community members, because we were able to save lives together. I've seen that happen once, and I know it can happen again for all Arizonans.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Mariana, haven't forgotten. You're next, please.
Okay, and the question is something I started or led, and what did
Yes.
it teach me?
Or
Is that the
built.
question? Or built, okay. Well, I've been very fortunate to be able to start different programs from my service on the school board to my service at the state legislature. While on the school board, we started a program, a bilingual program for parents that didn't speak English. We make sure that there was communication for them in Spanish because we had parents at the doors telling us that there was emergencies and there was no one that could speak their language. And so we make sure that we advocated and we got that started while on the school board. While at the Ledge, I am the Latino Caucus co-chair. We were able to start a Latino advisory board. Well, our goal is to actually start a Latino commission, which we currently don't have. But we were able to get a Latino commission started, and now they're meeting with the governor on a monthly basis. And what that's taught me is to never give up, to keep trying, and that no matter what, if we don't have a chair at the table, we got to drag in our own chair and come to the table and advocate for our community in whatever space that we're in. And what it had also taught me is that even if none of us are elected or we don't have a title, all of us are leaders and we all can make a difference within our communities in any space that we are.
Thank you so much. And last, Amelia, please go right ahead.
Gracias. One of the things that I do want to talk about is a group of community leaders. We got together and created Prop 203, which is early childhood system with First Things First. We started, of course, flyering, trying to get information and everything through door knocking to get everybody to sign and get signatures to get this proposition. One of the fruitful things about this is that through this strategy, we created 6 priority strategies that help develop early childhood, from the tobacco tax to infrastructure, give back to early childhood. Another thing that I'm very, very proud of is when we were collecting this data and moving forward, I was actually one of the grantees with the University of Arizona and doing the oral health. Within that program in my administration, we saw 22,000 kids when they did not have any dental health. We utilize telehealth. We utilize several agency and partnerships with Region for Border Health, which is a local clinic down in San Luis and Somerton, Sunset as well. And then that's when the buy-in of pediatricians, oral pediatricians, kind of took that example. So one of the biggest triumphs is seeing this access and developing the strategy to kind of move forward.
Thank you so very much. We're going to move on to our next question. Our next question is going to be for Mariana to start. If you weren't in this race, what would you be looking for in a candidate to get your vote?
Well, I would make sure that it was someone that was truly advocating for the everyday person. In this position, I see a lot of special interests, a lot of vendor bills, a lot of bills that aren't really going to make every person's life better. And so I would want to see someone that is truly looking out for the little guy and the everyday working person, because I'm part of that community. I've said it many times when I'm at the state legislature, the policy that comes in front of me is personal to me because I'm a working person. My husband's a working person. He's a member of the UA 469. He's a plumber. So my kids went to public school. And so all the issues that are being debated in that, whether it's healthcare, education, taxes, they affect me. And so that policy, I take it personal because it affects me. And I know that it affects my neighbors, everyday people that I talk to every single day. And so that's who I would want to see. I would want to see a fighter for everyday people.
Thank you so much. Amelia, we have the same question for you.
Can you please repeat the question, Joe?
Of course. If you weren't running for this race, what would you be looking for in a candidate to get your vote?
I would see the quality that they provide by listening and really understanding how they would move with every task at hand they get. for being in that office. I look at the skill sets that they do have to communicate, as well as stay connected to the people versus policy. That's huge for me. One of the things that many folks don't understand, or it's maybe gets fuzzed in when we get to the legislative, is you actively have to listen to what they're supporting. So that, to me, listening really and being supportive and how policy can work for people is huge in my book.
Great. Thank you so much. Juan, it's your turn to answer the question.
Thank you. Well, you need to know the heartbeat of the community, first of all. You need to be engaged with your community. You know, a good leader is not the one who imposes his will, is the one who knows how to negotiate and to negotiate for the betterment of the community. I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. And one of the things is that I've always been involved. I have over 40 years advocating for my community, whether it be from law enforcement, whether it be from being a judge and the advocacy level with domestic violence, with drug use, trying to mentor our kids. There's a lot of issues that I see that people don't actually engage in. And a good politician needs to be engaged, need to have that resilience, need to go out there and who to go out there. And I do have that. Took me 40 years to develop that background.
Thank you so much, sir. Next up, Naomi.
Sure. I would look for in a candidate about 3 different qualities. The first is education. Do they have the educational background for this position? The second is experience. Do they have experience knowing how the state legislature works or knowing how to pass bills through the entire process? And then lastly, understanding our rural and tribal communities. A lot of this district is in a rural community, but also as a tribal member, I've not seen anyone advocate for our tribal community as strongly as we need to in the state legislature. And those are qualities that I've always looked for in folks that we vote for and in leadership. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, and I have a master's degree in public administration and policy. I have experience working in Congress and in the White House, also hosting a lot of listening sessions, listening to community, understanding what they need, but also implementing policies that they need for folks on the ground. I also have an understanding of a rural and tribal community and living and growing up here. So there are a lot of different qualities I think a lot of our voters look for, but those are the 3 that I would look for if I wasn't running in this race.
Thank you so very much for your time. So we're going to move on to our last question. This is a district that Democrats have struggled to hold, despite having voter registration advantage. Please tell Democratic voters why you're the best choice to take on Republicans in November. Juan, we're going to start with you.
Well, we're seeing currently the situation we have with the House. They were introducing a lot of bills that really affects our community. And one of the things is that our community is not just a line in the map. We contribute just as well to the economy of the state. So we deserve a voice at the state capitol. And it's about time, especially in the Yuma area and South County, where the majority of our voters are. They have no representation currently. And that's what they want, because I hear it every day. So that's my biggest priority, is bring a voice to those that feel they have been neglected.
Thank you so much. Amelia, we're going to ask you next the same question.
Can you please repeat that, Joe?
Of course. This is a district that Democrats have struggled to hold, despite having a voter registration advantage. Please tell Democratic voters why you're the best choice to take on Republicans in November.
Thank you. One thing that people may not know, that my career has not been a straight line. Every opportunity has taught me something about leadership, serving on the community board, serving in a public service in any factor, especially in economic development. Serving on these boards have allowed me to expand my experience and learning to listen, learn, and bring those people together. And that's what I'm hoping to do as at the House, is to bring that listening ear and be a problem solver. And I'll take it all back and approach it to the legislative.
Okay.
Gracias.
Thank you. Naomi, the same question for you.
Sure. I think Democrats have struggled to hold this district because there hasn't been a sense of community created to make sure that our Democratic community understands each other, but also that we're united in having representation and leadership that will listen to us. As I began this race, I've attended many community meetings and many events where I've literally asked the public, what do you want to see? And a lot of our voters, unfortunately, don't know how the state legislature works. So with my experience, I was able to explain to them why this position is important, why we need representation, and why we need leaders who understand our communities. Another point that is brought up to me when I'm in these meetings is that local leaders only see our representatives during election years. And during these meetings, I have vowed to come back and listen to them and educate them, not only on the election process, but also, if elected, on the actual legislative process, what bills are coming up. I think the Democrats are really informed voters and they want to have an informed representative representing them. I think I'm the best person to do this because I have worked in the Congress. I know how to pass bills, but also conversely, tribal issues are bipartisan issues. So I'm very much used to working with coalitions, but also with folks on the other side of the aisle to get things done. I also hold a master's degree where I can understand policy, but most of my master's degree papers were actually written about legislative bills that needed to change in order for us to have issues solved for community. So that's why I would be the best person to represent this district.
Thank you so much. We're going to get into our main section, which is our core issues. These issues these are issues that voters say they care the most about. For this round, you'll get 90 seconds to answer. Rebuttals will be encouraged after everybody gets a chance to speak. Please let me know if you want to speak. And I may also choose to ask a specific follow-up question to a candidate as we go through these questions. Question 1 is going to be about inflation. Inflation is hitting Arizona families hard. It has been on the top of the mind in this election, especially in rural areas, and has become central to the Democratic agenda. So here's the question. How would you approach, what would your approach be to help families in your district and across the state weather these difficult economic times? Please be specific. What would your first acts in the legislature be when it comes to inflation and affordability? Naomi, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Got me writing the question down.
Well,
I'll start us off. According to the polling from the Citizens Clean Elections Commission, 48% of rural Arizonans believe their financial situations have worsened. And you've heard that from a couple of other candidates, that families are having a harder time buying food, groceries, and even paying their bills. I think it's time that we have state legislature and representatives who are willing to fight for our families, but also work on finding ways we can help our families, not only through services from the state, but also through incentives like tax incentives or childcare incentives. I've talked with voters where they have, especially voters in rural Arizona, that have a hard time getting childcare. They want to have a full-time job, but they don't have anywhere to take their children. So if there's ways that our state legislature can start working for families and stop working for millionaires and billionaires, I think that's where we can find some ways to leverage our legislative powers to work for families and for the people. And that's what I would examine first, is talk to our communities, learn what they would want, and then take those issues back and talk with our caucus and talk with my colleagues to see what it is we can do to make sure that our government is working for us.
Thank you so much. Amelia, I have the same question for you.
Can you please repeat that?
Of course. What would your approach be to help families in your district and across the state weather these difficult economic times? Please be specific. What would your first acts be in the legislature when it comes to inflation and affordability?
We know that home prices have increased, but not our wages. I would be supportive in having a faster paced wage policy, of course. I'll give you a story. When I was going to school, I paid $242 a month. That allowed me to save for my house. But at the time, President Obama had a housing stipend for new home buyers. That 16,000, because I had a good credit, and it really didn't define you on having housing credit, but it allowed me to purchase my first home and allow me to bounce a little bit higher because of going to school at the time, getting into that. I want to make policy that creates for the working families. That could be one example that I would advocate and navigate in the House, as well as taking care of our teachers, first responders. Right now, groceries are high and everything, but we depend on that tax. So trying to see how we can figure something that we can work together and find a middle ground for that.
Thank you so much. Mariana, we're going to start with you. We're going to go to you next.
Thank you, Joe. The question is, what would we do for affordability and inflation?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think during these really harsh economic times, my approach would be what sort of I've been doing. It's focused on practical solutions like helping working families by raising minimum wage, making sure that we are taxing, that we have a tax system that is more equitable, because right now we don't. And I actually introduced a bill to raise the minimum wage, and I introduced a bill to increase the taxes on millionaires and on luxury items so that we can have more funding in our state budget, because 40% of our budget comes from the federal government. Arizona does not generate enough income to pay for our bills. And if we don't have enough for our own bills, yet alone for the everyday Arizonan. So I would focus on practical solutions. And I also, one of my recommendations to the governor, I sent her, which will cost no one any money, was to allow the state employees to commute, to work from home, kind of sort of the way we did with COVID-19. We have no control over the gas prices, but if we allow state workers to work from home, they'll save on gas. If we encourage the business industry to also do the same, allow their workers to stay home 2 to 3 times a week, they will also save money on gas. And whether it's $20 or $30 a week, every little bit helps right now when families are struggling for the everyday bread and butter commodities.
Thank you so much. Juan, we're going to close the section with you next, please.
Yeah, first of all, I'd look at lowering healthcare costs. One of the biggest things is reduce or eliminating copays for low-income families and seniors. Not only that, expand rural clinics and telehealth. Especially in rural areas, transportation is horrendous. Sometimes it's non-existent. Also, I would try to lower utility and housing. So expansion of assistance in those areas, the electric bills support our local jobs by giving incentive to small businesses for hiring. So there's a lot of issues that we could look at that the state could provide such incentives as far as reducing transportation cost and keeping food prices down as well. Talking to our local farmers and agriculture to network and regional food supply.
Thank you so much. Does any candidate want a rebuttal or to expand on their answer?
Joe, I'd like to expand a little on mine.
Sure, by all means.
Sure. So as Mariana mentioned, 40% of our state's revenue comes from the federal government. But given what's going on in the federal government right now and the amount of, I want to say, blatant ethical rules that are being broken right now by this administration, that's not always a reliable source for us to have for the state budget. I think we also need to be reliant on local economies. That means we should be also supporting small businesses, especially at this time of inflation, where we can create our own local economies to ensure that our dollars not only help our neighbors, but they stay within our communities. Small businesses run a lot of economies, and I've made it a point with my campaign to make sure that we are supporting and promoting small businesses. We have a lot of work that we need to do as a local community, but I think the more that we can focus on promoting our small businesses, making sure our dollars stay local, that'll also help with some of these inflation costs as well.
Thank you.
Joe,
Anyone?
if I can comment, I think my point was taken the wrong way. I was pointing out the fact that our budget, like 40% of our budget comes from the federal government, to point out the fact that we're not generating enough revenue, and we shouldn't be relying on the state and the federal government to cover our bills. That's what I was trying to say by that, not the other way around. And so I just wanted to clarify that. And I absolutely agree with Ms. Miguel. We should be helping small businesses. I'm a small business owner. There in the Latino community and in the tribal communities, there are a ton of small business owners. That's sort of how they get by. And so I absolutely agree with that.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else?
I don't know if, Joe, I don't know if it's a rebuttal, but it's a comment that I want to add to
Sure.
Juan Manuel regarding the cost of food and the growers. Being a farmer's daughter and seeing how we sell the product to marketing, they're the ones that inflate it. And I would like to see policy with more stricter rules on farmers, not on farmers, but the actual people that purchase the produce from them and regulate the costs, because they're the ones that increase that cost. The farmers get the item sold, but then those marketing hedge, big corporate are the ones that inflate the cost of the food. It's not our local growers, and I wanted to clear that.
Sure.
And Joe, to that point, to Ms. Cortez's point, our Attorney General has worked on making sure that there isn't any the price gouging in these big supermarkets, right, for everyday consumers, that isn't happening. We also saw bills from the Democratic side introduced in the House for that purpose, but unfortunately, none of them were heard. But I agree with her, and our Attorney General is on it, and we should definitely be looking for that and making sure that our everyday person is not being taken advantage of. I also want to point out that during the last in this budget sessions, I advocated for the Double Up Bucks program, which is a program that allows folks that are on food stamps to double their food stamps. In local rural farmers come to these communities that are food deserts. Like, for example, in Hilaben, I visited a school there, and the teacher told me it took her an hour to get to the closest grocery store. And so in Yuma, we see that in San Luis and Somerton, there are no big groceries. There's no Fry's, there's no Safeway. There are food deserts within our entire, and not to mention the nation. There's one Bashas in sales. So I make sure that I advocated for funding for this program so that folks that are receiving food stamps can double their money when they go to these local farmers. And then also we're helping the local farmers that are providing or growing these vegetables for these communities that live in rural communities. One of the gentlemen that was coming in from Tucson. He was a small farmer in Tucson that came and testified in front of the Appropriations Committee, which is the committee that I serve.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to our next
No,
question.
could I mention something?
Of
Okay.
course.
You know, we do have Fry's and we do have Bashes, okay? And the big thing is that right now we're in the process of being one of the exclusives, or at least have a big turnaround in investment. We have just our port of entry that's being built. And one of the things that we need to look at is the investment potential that South County and LD23 is going to have. And to make it clear, I never said that our farmers are taking advantage of our people. On the contrary, okay? That's my point. Thank you.
And Joe, if I can
I'm going to
rebuttal
stop right
that,
there. We got to move on to the next question. Really, I'm sorry.
There are no fries or bashes in San Luis and Somerton. That's what I was referring to, not the city of Yuma.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next question. Arizona is in a water crisis, and Yuma's agricultural industry plays a huge part in water usage. What changes, if any, should Arizona make to agricultural water policy, and how would you balance protecting farmers with conserving water supplies? Mariana, we're going to go with you first.
Well, we have been, for the last 4 years, we have been trying to pass legislation to have sound water policy in Arizona. We have no way of measuring water, and we have no way of knowing how much is being pumped from the ground. I mean, we saw our attorney general sue over water that was being basically stolen to take to another country. And so we need to make sure that we pass sound water policy to protect our water. We are in a desert. It is very scarce. And we got to make sure that the current litigation that is in place for our share of the Colorado River, that we fight for that, and that we don't allow other states to give up, to push us or pressure us to give up more of our water share than we should have. And so we need sound policy, and we need to fight for our fair share of the Colorado River water.
Thank you so much. Naomi, I'm going to ask you the same question now.
Sure. So I think the water issue is something that I hear a lot, especially being in a tribal community and rural community, because when we're talking about water and drought, these are the communities that feel it first. But when we think about our farmers, a lot of that water needs to go to feeding our families. And we also need to have advocates who understand that our families need to be fed and our farmers need to have work. So our water policy needs to include provisions that support our farmers in agricultural water. I'll be honest, I actually come from a line of agricultural farmers. My grandfather and my great-grandfather were both farmers. My village, unfortunately, has a water settlement that has not been settled in over 100 years. In my lifetime, my village, I've never seen it with water, but my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandfather all know my village has water. So I give that story not only to show the fact that Arizona has an unsettled water settlement for a tribe that was vetoed by President Reagan, but also the fact that I understand the implications that happen when agricultural water goes missing. My village no longer has agricultural water. Those types of traditions have not been passed down. We have cracked canals around in my village, and I do not want that to be the future for the farmers in the Yuma area. We need to be preserving our water that benefits us and our families. We need to stop having it benefited for industries that no longer have to pay prices. They will never pay the price that we pay, seeing our environments being destroyed and our waters taken up. So we need to have advocates who understand our water rights, but also advocate for our environmental protections as well.
Thank you so much. Juan, I'm going to turn to you to answer the next question. Go right ahead, please.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Of course. Arizona is in a water crisis, and Yuma's agricultural industry plays a huge part in our water usage. What changes, if any, should Arizona make to agricultural water policy, and how would you balance it by protecting farmers while conserving water supplies?
Well, I'm big on reusable water. We need to invest on new technology. And the state needs to take the lead on that, because obviously South County is one of our major hubs when it comes to agriculture. And the state needs to take note of that. And we should invest on new technology, on reusable water, and protect what we have, because otherwise our future generations are going to be in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on less to Amelia on this question.
Thank you, Joe. To speak on it as a farmer's daughter, I can tell you that Yuma County is a great example of how we're efficient in modernizing our canal system. Some of them have solar gates and openings so that it could operate as a robot control mechanism. We utilize high tech. Representative Sandoval was recently at a mile modern mile installation of having internet on the fields to make sure and prioritize, our water efficiency and using one proper drop. That's our establishment. I can reference only, I know our tribal president just came back with a lot of community members, county, city, regarding the drought that has been happening over 2 decades. Our acre foot measurements of water have been decreasing, and especially this time that the state of Colorado did have no snow. So our water is reduced. So now we're getting together to formalize an agreement to see how we can figure out how the water is going to flow all the way down to our district, LD23. So I know we're used as a hub for efficiency, and I would like to guide us in the same way.
And
Thank you,
Joe, if
Kim.
I can comment on that.
Right.
As Ms. Cortez said, I was at the signing of a bill that we supported for our farming community in Yuma County. Yuma County is the lettuce capital of the world during the winter, providing most leafy greens, not just to the United States, but also to Canada, and they also provide produce for some European countries. And so it is one of the things that I have a really good working relationship with Mr. Dunn, who is a farmer, and other members in our legislature. We have focused on making sure that our farmers have the tools that they need to continue to produce the food for all of us. And it is incredibly astonishing how much food they're growing with so much little water. And so, as Ms. Cortez said, I want to continue to support those practices, those sustainability practices, those high-tech practices, so that we can continue to grow the food that we need as a country, not just for Arizona or Yuma County, and that the world needs, because Canada would not have lettuce in the winter if it wasn't for Yuma and the farm workers that pick it and work the fields.
Okay. So anybody else who needs a rebuttal? We're running a little bit late, and I want to make sure that our those who can't stay on past 7 get a chance to speak. So with your consent, I'm going to move on to another section of the debate. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Next up, we've given the candidates 3 bills to review prior to tonight's meeting. We have not told them which bill that we'd be discussing, but we've given them a chance to review them prior to tonight's debate. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to read a short summary of the bill we've chosen, and we'd like to give each person a minute to just tell the voters 2 things only: how you would have voted and why. The bill is SB 1431. It's about housing and HOAs. You've hopefully all read the bill, but here's the layman's version. The bill would permit a municipality from requiring a homeowners association, shared amenities, gated access, or other perimeter enclosures. It would also prohibit a municipality from adopting or enforcing design, architectural, aesthetic requirements for single-family homes or accessory dwelling units, including requirements related to materials, colors, facades, layouts, Frenches, and other features. How would you have voted on this bill and why? Marianne, I'm going to start with you and hope that you ask me not to read that again.
I will not make you do that. So SB 1431 actually did not make it across the pond. It didn't. It failed in the Senate, and so we did not get to vote on it. This is a bill about basically HOAs that can be mandated by municipalities, right? In a city can mandate an HOA, like the cost, so that the costs don't go directly to the home buyers. So what's happened in our state is that a lot of communities, new communities that are being built, they're building these HOAs and they're building these parks and charging the homeowners to maintain these parks and these areas. And so and requiring certain building materials and certain colors for the community and all of that. And so that's just, in my opinion, taking away the responsibility from what the cities, the services that the city should provide, right? The city should provide maintenance of these spaces, and the city should be in charge of this, but the HOA sort of have taken over. And so this is just one of many things that issues, right, that we have been looking at in the housing space. And I would have supported this bill because I think that we should have freedom. I support most bills that are housing because we have a housing crisis. And so I don't know if that's my time or if
Yes.
I said enough, I think.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move on next to Naomi. Naomi, can you give us your answer, please?
Sure. I think Mariana gave a really good summary of this. I would vote in favor of it, but I do have a couple of things I would do differently in hearing about the bill. I would also talk with our city mayors within the district to see what the impact of this bill potentially would be. But not only the mayors, the councils. This is an intergovernmental position that should be working with our local governments to ensure that what we pass in the state legislature also impacts them greatly, but impacts them in a way that will be beneficial for what they do in their jobs. I think that cities do need more green spaces. We need more trees. The more trees we have, the less our temperature is. We're all used to living here in Arizona, but we do need more green spaces. And I think if the city has more funding for those green spaces, even better. That's one thing I would change about this bill, making sure we have more funding for our cities to have some green spaces so that families can go and have fun and the kids can thrive. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Juan, we're going to start with you now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've always been concerned of government overreach. I think that local governments need to have some control over their jurisdiction. I myself would have voted also, and I agree completely with Mariana that it is one of those issues that some control needs to be maintained with the municipalities.
Thank you so much. Amelia, the question ends with you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joe. Of course, I would vote for yes for SBD 1431, just because I believe it should have more freedom in building your own home, knowing in these rural communities, a lot of people build their own homes or buy a new home. And of course, if we remove the unnecessary barriers that this housing, making this housing more expensive, often, like I mentioned and mimicked through all three other candidates, I would, of course, make sure this bill doesn't eliminate the importance of building codes, fire codes, public health, and safety standards. Those are the requirements that I didn't see on this bill. So
thank you so much. As hard as it is to believe, we're almost at the end of our hour-long debate. So I'm going to go to our closing statements. Everybody's going to get 90 seconds to make your closing case to the voters on why they should vote for you. Amelia, we're going to start with you.
Gracias. Tonight, you've heard different visions for the future of Arizona. I hope you've also heard my heart. I don't want to cry because I'm a crier, but I will fight for everyone. I believe leadership is about showing up, listening, and delivering results for the people you serve. Throughout my career, I have worked to strengthen our communities and support small business and create opportunities that help families succeed. This is exactly how I will serve at the county. I will fight for strong public schools, affordable health care, respond for water management, good paying jobs, and an economy where every family has the opportunity to thrive. I will be the voice for our rural communities, our cities, and our tribal nation, because everyone deserves to be represented. If you elect me, I promise to be accessible, accountable, and committed to putting people before politics. I will listen with an open mind, lead with integrity, and never forget who sent me to Phoenix. I would be honored to earn your trust and your support, as well as your vote. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Juan, I'd like you to go next, please.
Thank you, sir. Well, to the voters of LD23, this election is very, very important, not only just to the district, but to the entire state. As you know, most people say that they don't believe in politics, they don't care about politics, but you need to understand that politics already consumed us all. It consumed us on prices, on gas prices, on food prices, you name it, it has consumed us. And don't let the ones that vote decide for the ones that don't. This is very, very important. Every Democrat should be up in arms right now. One of the reasons I'm running is because I've been battle tested. Nobody goes through life unscathed. Life is the only one that has a perfect record. And I commend every candidate that's here today because it takes courage, because you expose yourself. And who else than a candidate that exposes himself regardless because he believes is what he's doing. And I do believe that whoever you decide, we're going to do a good job. So I ask for your support humbly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Naomi, we're going to go to you next, please.
Thank you so much for joining us today, voters of Legislative District 23. As a citizen of the Thanatham Nation, I've lived on this land the majority of my life. I come from 3 generations of tribal leaders that have served in the Thanatham Nation, and I'm deeply rooted in our rural and tribal communities. Like many of you, I've dealt with government systems that no longer work for us. I've been harassed by Border Patrol as a teenager and denied basic services from our state government. Where you live in this state shouldn't matter on the amount of services that you get from our state government. If elected, I'd work to make sure that you have a voice in the state legislature, no matter where you're coming from, but especially if you come from Legislative District 23. I know all of you who have been staying on with us have heard a lot of different opinions on how they would represent you, but I would represent you not only with honor, but also with experience. I have experience passing bills. In the United States House of Representatives, when I was committee staff director, I passed 26 bills for tribal communities all the way across the finish line, getting them signed by the president. This is the type of work that makes me excited, but also makes me humbled because I know that I would be continuing that work working for you. I would like all of you to remember that we live in a democracy. And in a democracy, the people have the power, and you have the power through your vote. So I implore you to please consider me as one of your 2 votes for this position. There are 2 votes, make one of them for Miguel. And I appreciate you all joining us today. I'm Naomi Miguel, and I'm running for Arizona State Legislature for District 23.
Thank you so much. Mariana, I haven't forgot. You're next up.
Thank you, Joe. So I want to start by thanking the Clean Elections Commission again for hosting this debate. And you, Joe, thank you for moderating. And also the fellow candidates, thank you for stepping up to run to make $24,000 a year, because that's what this job pays. So it is definitely a financial sacrifice, a physical sacrifice, emotional, psychological, all of it. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into this. And so I want to thank you for stepping up to wanting to do this job. And thank you to all the voters that are watching. Thank you for participating. Thank you, LD23, for your support. I'm a lifelong public servant. I started at legal aid, then I worked at the Attorney General's office for 12 years, and now I'm serving at the state legislature. And this election is about the future we want to build together. As Democrats, we believe that everyone deserves a fair shot at success, that public education should be fully funded, that healthcare should be affordable and accessible, that workers deserve dignity and fair wages, and that our democracy works best when every voice is heard. Throughout this campaign, I have listened to families struggling with rising costs, teachers fighting for resources, seniors worried about healthcare, and young people wondering whether they will be able to afford a home and build a future here in Arizona. They're looking for leaders who will show up, fight, do the work, and deliver results. I'm running for re-election because I believe government should be a force for opportunity, fairness, and accountability. I have the experience, the commitment, and the determination to fight for the people of this district every single day. And this primary is not just about choosing a candidate. It is about choosing the values and vision that will guide our community. If you want to see an Arizona that works for everyone, not just for millionaires and special interests, then I am your candidate. Together, we can create an Arizona we can all afford. I'm your state representative, Mariana Sandoval, and I take no one's vote for granted. I hope to earn your vote on or before July 21st. Thank you so much for your support. Muchas gracias.
Thank you to everyone tonight. This concludes tonight's debate for the Legislative District 23 and the House Democratic primary. To our voters, I want to thank you for tuning in and informing yourselves ahead of the July 21st primary. To our candidates, thank you for taking the time today to talk about the issues. For official voter information, visit cleanelections.gov. Thank you, and that concludes tonight's debate.